Okay, so let's now start with the absence management. We will first see. I have study material also with me. I will be sharing it with you guys. So in case you tend to forget the things, you can always get back to this study material. It covers the absence management, the module as whole. So the important concepts, and how everything is done in absence management, right from the setup till its actual use in production. So everything has been covered over here. So I will be sharing it to you guys. It's a little incomplete. I need to spend 1 more hour on this. So once it is done, I'll share it with you guys right after the session. Okay, so well, absence management, let's first understand what is absence management. If you have any questions in between, you can raise your voice. I will answer and then move forward. Okay, so well, it's a product which is a part of PeopleSoft HRMS Enterprise Suite. This application is used to cater the absence related business activities on daily basis in any organization. So when I say absence related activities, what comes into the picture? So activities like raising an absence request. After absence request is raised, it goes to the managers for approval. I mean, it follows a chain, it follows an approval chain actually. So when managers approve that absence request, this request is processed when we run the absence process on daily basis. So this is one incident where this absence management application actually handles such a business activity. So various roles have various roles means employees, manager, and absence administrators. They have their own roles in absence management application. Let's say, for example, an employee will raise an absence request. A manager will approve that absence request, and an administrator will do do admin related activities on any absence request. Okay, so when I say employee, when I talk about employee, so for employee there are some dedicated pages to raise absence request. So it is right there in the self-service. It is in self-service, and for employees it is in self-service time reporting. So under this area there are various pages from where employee can do different activities like raising request, looking into his absence request histories, looking into his monthly schedule. So all these things are there in this area, self-service. So this is the page, this is the place where employee raises an absence request. Time, self-service, time reporting, view time, and absence request. Report time and absence request. From view time, so there are two sub menus here, report time and view time. So from view time he can see what are all the requests he has raised over the year. I mean, he can give the date range, and in that date range whatever absence requests he has raised or she has raised, they all will be listed down. So depending upon their statuses, employee can make changes on those requests and take further actions. So all these sort of activities are done from this area. So this area is for employees who are willing to raise absence request. There is another one for managers. Manager will do activities like they will approve the absence requests for the direct reports. They can raise absence requests on behalf of their direct reports, right? They can also see the request history for their direct reports, right? So these are the activities from a manager perspective. Now for HR admins, admins there are different there is a specific place where from the HR admin do certain activities, like if you go to global payroll and absence management, pay data, maintain absences, and absence event. So just try to understand, we are beginning with the roles first. How the absence is used by various roles, employee, manager, and HR admins. Okay, so how they are used. So now we have seen how they are used, right? We have seen how employees is raising request, how manager is approving it. Well, we are not going to detail, obviously, because it's a walkthrough session, so we'll have to see everything in brief. We cannot go into detail. So before moving further, let's first understand a few elements of absence management. Then we will see how an absence request is processed. Okay, and after that we will see how the absence is set up, how the absence management application is set up. So yeah, hi Sunil. Yeah, that's what we are coming here. So now we will talk about some terms that we use in absence management, right? We will understand the meaning of those terms. So that's what we have come to. So elements of absence management. So here we will talk about, we will try to relate the these business activities or these activities that user does in production environment with the absence management element. So we'll try to relate both of them and try to understand where it stands what. So that's where we are coming into, don't worry. Yeah, okay. So the first one is absence event. So as I told you that, or as I already took an example of raising an absence request. So let's say an employee wants to go on a vacation, okay, for 1 week, right? So in absence management, that period will be called as absence event. That period, in the sense that 1 week of vacation as a whole will be called as absence event. Absence take. Absence take is the reason for which employee is going on that 1 week of leave. So what is the reason for that? So employee is going on a vacation or annual leave, or annual leave here. So that annual leave or vacation is the absence take. So the name of that absence, right, the type of that absence is actually absence take here. Okay. Employees planning to go on 1 week vacation. The duration is called as absence event. The type of absence is actually called absence take. All right. So annual leave will be the absence take because he is going on a 1 week vacation. So annual leave, in different places, this is the name of this type is different. Like in India, it is called as earned leave, right? In UK, it is called as annual leave. In USA, I think it is called as vacation. So, but in absence management, it is same. So though we define the elements or these elements in absence management country wise, so when we define the element for absence, vacation absence, then we name as a vacation. When we define the same for India, we name it as a earned leave. When we define the same for UK, then we name as a annual leave. So this is same, the meaning is same. Okay. Entitlement. So for any absence take, the amount of paid time that an employee gets. Okay, so if it's an annual entitlement, then for any absence take, the amount of time, paid time, an employee gets in a year. Okay, so if we talk about absence take annual leave, so annual leave here is the absence take. So if we talk about annual leave, then how many annual leaves an employee gets in a year, that's called the entitlement, annual entitlement. Okay, so let's say a person is hired. Now for that person the absence is processed. Okay, now he's hired on January 1st. Let's say he's hired on January 1st. Okay, so for the entire year, let's say company policy says that a person, the annual entitlement for a person will be 25 days. Okay, now the person is hired on January 1st. So for him the entitlement will be 25 days. Okay, now let's say the person is hired in the middle of the year. So he should get the prorated entitlement, right? For any particular absence take, for annual leave, he should get prorated entitlements if he is hired in the middle of the year. The employees who are already there in the organization, they should get this entitlement every year, right? So let's say a person is already there in the organization, and now this is the start of the year. Now this is the start of the 2015. So when the absence process was run on 1st of January this year, then all the employees will get 25 days of annual leave for the entire 2015. So this is called the annual entitlement. Okay. Any question on any of these three that we have discussed? Absence event, absence take, or entitlement? Yeah. Hmm. Correct. Yeah. Because we first set up our system, right? We first configure our system so that the system can award the number of days to the employees for the entire year. So we have configured our system in such a way that the system will automatically award the number of days as absence takes to the employees for the entire year. We'll come to that. Don't worry, we'll come to that. Don't get confused. So for now, just understand the meaning of these terms. These are just terms, okay? So though everything in absence management is element, an element can be extremely complex or it can be extremely simple. So it can be a smallest unit or it can be, a largest unit in absence management. So everything in absence management is element actually. These are the building blocks of absence management and global payroll also. Okay, so we'll get to that. So now you understood the entitlement. Now let's come to the entitlement balance. So let's say you are an employee in a company. Okay, now in the beginning of the year you got 25 days of annual leaves for the entire year. Now in the February month you took 7 days of you took a vacation of 7 days. Okay, first let's go back to the absence take one. So how many types of absence take will be there? As Sunil asked that we have so many types of absences, right? So how they are related in the absence management, how they are related with the absence management. So we have like annual leave, sick leave, casual leave, maternity leave, parental leave. So all these individual leaves are actually absence takes, right? So for now we are talking about the annual leave. We have taken, we are referring to annual leave, but sick leave, casual leave, maternity leave, parental leave, all these are also absence takes. So if you are going on a 2 days of sick leave, or you fallen sick for 2 days, then that 2 days of sickness will be absence event. Absence take will be sick leave, right? Right, guys? Sunil? Yeah. So 2 days of sickness will be absence event, and sickness will be the absence take. Okay. Now, entitlement we gone through. So just like the annual leave, there are entitlements for other absence takes also, like for sickness leave. So I think in most of the companies, employees get I think 6 to 7 days of sickness leave, or maybe 10 days. I'm not sure about all the countries, but in India they get 7 days of sickness leave. It again depends from company to company. Okay, so and casual leave again 6 to 7 days. Maternity leave 3 months or 12 weeks. So so these are the absence takes in, or absence, yeah. So if people are going on a leave of absence, yeah, without pay. So yeah, so that is also considered in absence management. So that's not an absence event per se. That's not an absence event. That's so it is like this. So if a person is going on a leave of absence, right, then that person, it might be the case that the company will not accrue the number of leaves to the person during that period when he was on leave of absence. So it's like it is not considered as an absence event, but it's yeah, accrual stops. So again, it depends from company to company. So it's entirely on the company's policy. So there are companies who actually accrue the entitlements when the person is on leave of absence. Okay. No, it is not. It is not. Okay. And it has direct impact on payroll also, not just the absence, on payroll also. Okay, so they also because it is a the leave of absence which is not paid, then it has impact on both. Anyway, so let's move on. Entitlement balance. I was talking about entitlement balance. So let's say in the beginning of the year you got 25 days of annual leave, and in the month of February you went on a vacation for 7 days. So in month of February, what will be your entitlement, or how many days of leave will be left on your account? 18 days, right? So you had total 25 days of leave. In the month of February, you took 7 days of leave. So you can just subtract the absence number of days that you took, went on a vacation, from your actual entitlement. So the remaining is the entitlement balance. Okay, so the amount of Mhm. Yes, of course, because these are paid leave of absences, right? These are paid time off. So, so that is what if the person, you know, wasn't getting the accruals, even though if he's on a vacation, then it will not be a paid time off, right? So these are all paid time off that we're talking about. Yeah. So so even if person has, let's say a person is able to accumulate leave, total number of leave, let's say he has now 35 days of leave into his account because the leaves have been carried forward over to the next year, right? And now he has 35 days of leave into his account. So if he goes on a vacation which is of 1 month duration, right, and all those are paid time off, paid vacation, then he still be getting the monthly accruals, right? The monthly accrual will not stop. Okay? Because person is not on a leave of absence. Person has just taken a vacation which is paid. To understand it in a different way, when a person is going on a leave of absence, the changes are done in the job data page, right? But if a person is going on a vacation for 1 month, which is paid, he will just raise an absence request from self-service, which will be approved by manager, and then that will be processed. So these two are entirely different, you can say concepts here. So if a person is going on a leave of absence, then the changes are done in the job data page appropriately. So a new row will be added in the job data page with the appropriate action and action reasons, and the status will become as leave of absence. So now system, when the absence is processed for that person, system will automatically identify that now this person is on leave of absence, so the accrual shouldn't be given to this person. Okay, so this is what the difference is. All right. Mm-hmm. Scheduled leaves, yeah. So leaves are always scheduled, right? I mean, they are always not. I mean, if it's an paid annual leave, so yeah, it's a planned leave or scheduled leave. But if it's a casual or sick leave, though they are not scheduled leaves, but yet they are paid leaves of absences. So, mhm. Now let's say again it depends on the company policy. So let's say that a company don't want to don't want the accrual to happen for the employees who are on leave of absence. They don't want to give the paid they don't want to actually award or entitle leaves to those employees who are on leave of absence. Yeah, even though that is a plan, yeah. I mean, see, if let's see, it's like this. No, it's in this way. No, see, uh, so if so, there are just give me a moment. I need to 1 minute, huh? I need to go to a different place. Being better, yeah? Hold on, guys. Yeah. So, Amit, so your question was whether if it's a scheduled vacation, if a person has planned for it, then whether it will be considered as a leave, absence event or the accruals will be given to that person or not. So see, if a person is going on a leave, right? I mean, let's say a person has to pursue his he has some academics exams, or he has to do something for, let's say, 1 or 2 months somewhere, for which he cannot raise an absence request, okay? Or let's say he wants to go to somewhere for a longer period of time, okay? And so for that purpose, when that happens, that a new row will be added in the job data page saying that this person is on leave of absence, okay? So with the action and action reason. So in that case, the person is on leave of absence, his employee status has changed, so he may or may not get the accruals. It depends on the company policy, okay? So because system will work in a way how you configure it. So if company policy says that this person shouldn't be awarded with the leaves if he's on leave of absence, then you will configure your system in that way, right? You will set up the system in such a way that it shouldn't process or it shouldn't accrue leaves to that person who is on leave of absence. Yeah? Yeah, pay time off, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, see, if I just log in into this page. So if a person is going on a leave of absence, okay, so what will happen? What will be done in the person's job data? A new row will be added in this page, right, in the job data page. It will not have any impact anywhere else. I mean, in the same way, if a person is taking paid time off, so what will he do? What will he or she do? They will go to self-service and they will raise an absence request. So that person is still active. He is still getting the paychecks, right? He's getting whatever he's supposed to get, whatever he's entitled for. But he's just on a paid time. He's on a paid vacation. So company is paying for that. So now, these two pages are separated from each other. So the person will be raising absence request from this area, time reporting and raise absence request. So it will not change the status of that person on the job data page. The status will still be HR status active, employee status active, unless we make any changes over there explicitly. So when absence process is run every day, so what it does, we will see that. We will see in the following sections how absence process is run, how it identifies if a person has taken absence request, if a person has raised absence request and it has to process it. All that we will see. Triggers and everything we will see in the following sections. So for now, just understand these terms, okay? Comp of so in my company we have a compensatory off for UK employees. So if a person is coming on a bank holiday, then he should be awarded he should be entitled for a comp off, so that he can take a day off on a working day. Okay, so yeah, it's an absence event. Yeah. So we have this in our company. So Okay. Yeah, no problem. So you understood the entitlement balance? The amount of, it's very simple, the amount of unused entitlements. Okay? I hope you understood the simple statement. Adjustment. Okay, so deduction or addition made from into absence entitlement balance. So adjustment has relevant use or relevant meaning when we talk about payroll, but in absence also, you know, it has its significance. So let's say a person has run out of the annual leave. There is no leave in his entitlement balance. He has run out of, and he needs that. I mean, he needs to go to a vacation for 1 week, but he doesn't have the enough. He doesn't have the entitlement balance at all. So what will he do? He can buy the number of days, a particular, I mean, specific number of days he can buy, so that he can go on a vacation. So he can buy 7 days of paid, 7 days of leave. He can buy 14 days of leave. So when he buy the leaves, so the corresponding amount will be deducted from his paycheck. Okay, so the leaves which he is buying, right? So that will come as adjustment. So when the calendar, when the absence process is run next time, and if a person has bought some leaves, so those number of days will be treated as adjustments, and they will be either added or deducted from the appropriate balances. So if a person is buying the number of days, then it will be added to his entitlement balance, right? So if he has no entitlement balance, there are zero leaves in his account, and if he buys 14 days of annual leave, then those 14 days will be added into his balance. So this is actually not coming from regular absence process, right? This is entirely up to the employee. If employee wants to buy the annual leave, and even when only when he does that, the system will process it. So it is not a part of regular absence process. It is coming on ad hoc basis, right? Now system has to identify that event, and system has to adjust the entitlement balance, right? So that's why it is called as adjustment. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Your voice was breaking. No, your voice was breaking, Salman. Can you repeat that? Mm. Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so deduction will be like taking a leave off. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I said. Adjustment has more relevant meaning in payroll. Okay, so this plus minus occurs more in payroll, but in case of absence management, the negative adjustment. Uh, okay, so it's like this. So let's say that for a particular country, let's say UK, you have allowed employees to take leaves even when they have run out of the absence. I mean, they have run out of the balance. Okay, so let's say there are 3 leaves in their account, and system should allow them to take 7 days off. Okay, so now 3 days of leaves will be deducted from their account, but 4 days of leave will be counted as negative adjustment. So what will happen when the next entitlement occurs for that person? Those 4 days will first be deducted from the new or next entitlement. So the remaining entitlement will be his new and the new entitlement balance. So what I'm trying to say, let's say in towards the end of the year, so let's say in the month of December, person had only 3 days of leave balance in his account. Now he has taken 5 days of leave, right? So system is still allowing that to happen, because that is what the company policy says. So when the absence process is run for the next month or for the following month in January 2015, so let's say there are 25 annual entitlement is 25 leaves. So first, those negative adjustment which was exceeded from the available entitlement balance will be deducted from the next entitlement. So if person is entitled for 25 leaves, then first 3 leaves will be deducted from that annual entitlement which occurred in the beginning of the year. So whatever is remaining, that will be the entitlement balance for the entire year for that person. This is a very rare scenario, because this happened more in payroll. The negative adjustment happens more in payroll. In absence management, most of the organization don't allow the employees to take leaves when they don't have any leave balance. But this happens. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So if a person is selling leaves, right? Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sunil. Okay. Which example? Mm-hmm. 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 No, see, if it's not that way. If a person is taking negative leaves, when I say negative leaves, the leaves which are taken when the person doesn't have any leave balance. Okay, so in case of negative leaves, even if the person is planning to days that has given to employee when he didn't have the absence balance, so those negative leaves is of money, so he can deduct that amount from his final settlements, right? So it's not that the person has to then serve for entire calendar year. It's not like that. There are ways to recover that leave in different ways. So it's not like that. Okay. Yep. Okay. So. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah. Units. Okay, so we measure leave in units, right? Hour or day. So there are two units for leaves. It's hours and days. So many in many countries the leaves are accrued on hourly basis. In others it is accrued on day basis, right? So the leave is measured in terms of either hour or days. So for Indian employees it is on the unit is days. So they get 1.8 days or 2 days of leave every month, right? But for the employees for other countries, the employees get the entitlements in terms of hours. So they get 150 hours per year. Okay, so it depends again on the country, because absence management is entirely the setup is actually based on the country. So if you go to any setup page in absence management, that will start with the country. So you first have to select country, for which country you are actually doing this setup, and then move further. So because absences differ country to country, so that's why it is based on countries. Okay. Now, okay, let's now understand few concepts. So these were the terms that we use in absence management and their actual meaning. Okay, so let's now talk about few concepts in absence management. The first one is trigger. Okay, so absence management is a separate module, right? In PeopleSoft, we have core HR. That's also a separate module, right? So so when a person is going on a leave, when a person is going on a vacation, obviously he will go to self-service page. They will raise the absence request. That request will be approved by manager. So that's a self-service application for absence management. Okay, so how the system identifies that this event has occurred on this date and now this has to be processed. So that is where the triggers come in picture. So triggers actually what they do, they detect the changes made in the absences or in the human resources data, in the core HR data. So let's say if a person is going to be terminated, or it has terminated on a particular day, then there has to be a certain processing for that person or for that event, right? If a person is hired on a particular date, then there has to be prorated entitlements for that person. So all these changes into the system, all these data changes which occur on daily basis, right? So how system detects all these changes? So it detects through triggers, right? So triggers actually detects all these changes, and absence management process actually refer to triggers to collect all these changes, and then it process the absence. Okay, it process those absences which are occurred. Yeah, they are. Some of them are recommended, they must be defined. Many others are custom defined. Okay, so yeah, these are application level triggers. So please don't be confused with the database triggers. We're not talking about audit related activities here. Okay, we are talking about absence triggers. Okay, so no, there are three types of triggers. So in changes can have change can be of any nature, right? So let's say a person is raising this is January month, right? So let's say a person is planning to go on a vacation for 1 week in this month itself. Okay. So that person raises an absence request. So there has to be a trigger which detects this kind of an event, which occurred in the current calendar cycle, right? So when the absence process is run, so the current calendar cycle will be January only, right? So if an absence is occurring in a current calendar cycle, then to detect that, there has to be a separate trigger. Now let's say a person was on leave 3 months ago, but he forgot to raise the absence request from the self-service. Now he realizes that, yeah, he was on a leave for 1 day 3 months ago. Now he has to raise the absence request, right? So now what he does, he raises an absence request for month of, let's say, October. So there has to be a trigger which detects that past dated change, right? Getting my point? Yeah. Okay. Now the third example is, let's say this is month of January. Okay. So what happens on 18th of this month, or let's say today is what, 17th. Let's say on 17th of this month, which is today's date, a person gets promoted to a higher grade. Okay. A person becomes, a delivery manager in a company on 17th of January. So from 1st to 17th, right, the person was at a lower grade. Now from 18th of January, that person is getting promoted into a higher grade. So as per his grade, he is entitled for more leaves, right? As per his new grade, he is entitled for more leaves than when he was in the lower grade. Now this happened in the middle of this calendar month. So there has to be a trigger which detects all these changes. So now how will the system process such kind of a change? So now what should happen? What should ideally happen? From 1st to 16th, person should be awarded with the number of days as per his lower grade. And from 17 till the end of month, that person should be awarded as per the new grade leave policy, right? Getting my point or not? Yeah. So the person was on a lower grade from 1st to 16th. Now that lower grade says that person should get only 25 days of leave in a year, right? Now from 18th of this month, January, that person is getting promoted into a new grade. So as per the new grade policy says that a person now should get 30 days of leave in a year. So how should system, calculate this this weird event? So there has to be a way, right? The data should be correct. That is our ultimate goal. So that's where these. So for that also there is a different trigger that we define. So there is a different trigger which detects such things. Okay. Now I'm again saying that you just have to understand the concept. I'm not going to explain you where exactly we set up those kind of triggers and each and every page and fields and all. This is just a walkthrough session, and we cannot if we do that, we cannot cover the entire thing in just 2 hours. Okay. So understand the concept. If you understand the concept, you can easily go to that page, and if you read it through some book or some other resource, then you will be easily able to catch up the things, right? So the first example which I took, that a person is going on a vacation in the current month itself. To detect that, we define iterative triggers. A person has raised a leave of absence for the month of October, which is already passed. To detect that, we have defined retro triggers. The third example which I took, a person is promoted into a higher grade in the middle of the month. To detect that, we define segmentation triggers. Right? Guys? Yep. So these are the triggers in absence management. So when we define these triggers, and if any of these events occur, and when we run the absence process take the help from the triggers and process such events and updates the balances and entitlements accordingly. Okay? And this is very important. This concept is very important. That's why I've explained it to you in the beginning itself. The second one is the retro processing method. So when I say retro, what comes in your mind exactly? What exactly comes in your mind? What do you mean by retro? Yeah, of course. Yeah. So if an event is occurred during the calendar period which is already closed, right? So if you are in a month of January, so the December month's calendar would have been closed, right? That would have been finalized. So if something is happening in that month, then that will be treated as retro in absence management. So that retro has to be processed in a different way, right? So there are two methods of retro processing in absence and global payroll: corrective retro and forward retro. Corrective retro processing and forward retro processing. In absence management, only corrective retro processing is applicable. We don't use forwarding retro in absence management. Okay? For any element, for any accumulator, we don't use forwarding retro. I just want to clear that. Okay? Even if you select forwarding retro somewhere, system will never use that. System will always do the calculation based on the corrective retro method. Forwarding retro is used in payroll. Both corrective and forwarding retro are used in payroll, but the forwarding retro is not used in absence management. This is what I wanted to clear you guys. Okay? Now, let's talk about corrective retro now. So let's say for Indian employees, the leave is awarded on monthly basis. So every person gets 2 days of leave every month. Okay? Now, this is January. The next month will be February and March. So let's say a person for these 3 months. So in the month of January, the leave, how much was the entitlement balance? How much was the entitlement balance in the month of January? If you say that 2 days of leave will be awarded every month. 2. And again in the month of February it will be 2. For the month of February, right? It will be accumulated and become 4 actually. And again in the month of March, 2 more leaves will be awarded and total will be 6, right? Now, let's say a person has taken 1 day of leave in month of February. Now, let's say this is month of March. We are in the month of March. A person had taken a leave of absence in the month of February. So, as per this data, now what becomes? So, in the month of January, the entitlement was 2, take was 0, and the balance was 2, right? Right, guys? In the month of February, entitlement is 2, take is 1, and the balance is 3. In the month of March, what is the case? Entitlement is 2, take is 1, and balance is 5. So that take will be always carried forward over to the next months, okay? Even though if you have taken the take in the month of February, that take will be calculated as year to date. Okay? Now, let's say in the month of March, the person raises an absence request for the January for 1 day. Okay? In the month of March, person raises an absence request for the month of January for 1 day. So now this is a retro event, right? This is a retro yeah, retro event. So now system has to process this retro. So in corrective retro, how it will happen? In the month of, so system will go back to the date, go back to the calendar period on which the retro event has occurred. So since the absence request has been raised for month of January, so it will go back to from the January month and will start processing the calendars from that month onwards. Okay, so it will go back to the January month. So it will again recalculate all the balances, entitlements and takes for the month of January. Okay, so what will be the scenario now? For the month of January, entitlement was 2. After recalculating the take will become 1 and the recalculated balance will become 1, right? Now come to the February. So it will again recalculate the February calendar. Okay, so in the month of February, the entitlement will be 2, take will be 2, and balance will be 2, right? Come to the March month, entitlement will be 2, take will be 2, balance will be 4, right? Rinku, are you getting what I'm trying to explain here? So the take is being actually carried over to the next month's calendar periods. Okay, everything, not just, yeah. No, see, I cannot discuss payroll here. I mean, this is, let's stick to the absence management for now, because if we explore the things, I will really not be able to cover what I have planned for. So let's not discuss payroll for now. Let's understand the absence. Payroll also works somewhat in the same way, but let's not get into that. For now, just understand the absence management. Okay, yep. Okay, so this was the retro processing. Now forwarding retro. Now, as I told you that this forwarding retro is not applicable in absence management. This is more relevant. This is relevant to the payroll module, but I'll explain it because I have, since I mentioned it, so I'll explain it. So if we take the same example, okay, so, and if it is a forwarding retro method, then how will the system process it? If a person has taken 1 day of leave in the month of, for the month of January, then how will system process it? It will first get the difference, yeah. No, it will first get the difference and then it will adjust in the current month's calendar period. Okay, it will do the adjustments in the current month, in the current calendar period. Okay, so that is what is forwarding retro. So it will not go all the way back to the month in which the event has occurred and start processing the start processing everything right from that month onwards. Instead of that, it will just take the difference from that month and it will adjust that difference into the current month's calendar period. That difference is called the delta. Okay, in absence and payroll term, it is called delta. Okay. Any question, guys, so far? Okay, so now let's get into the absence management processing part. Okay. See, the reason mostly what happens, if you go to the, if you read through the people books, first they explain the setup part and then they actually come into the application part, the actual use of the application. But here it is other way around. The reason I'm doing that because I believe if you do this, if you first understand the overall flow, right, in absence management, and then after that you go back to the setup part, then you will get the things more clearly, I mean more easily, right? That's what I believe. And this has worked for me very well, so I hope it will work for you also. Okay, so let's first understand how exactly an absence is processed in PeopleSoft, absence management. Okay, the overall flow of it. I hope you are able to see my screen. Yeah. So let's do that in the system and in this document as well. Yeah, in brief. Yeah. We'll go through that. Yeah. So before that, we need to understand how the absence is processed. Yeah. Okay. So, well, before we get into that, first I would like to tell that the absence process is run every day. Okay. The absence process, the COBOL process, is run every day. Okay. It can be run twice or thrice a day. There is no harm in that. Or it can be run once in a day. Okay. Why it is run on daily basis? So there is a place from where we run the absence process. Okay. So now we are into application area. We are not into the setup part. We are into application area. Okay. So absence process is run from here. Every day this process is run. Now what it does, since you all know that changes in the system occur on daily basis. People go on leave. So if there are 5,000 to 6,000 people in an office, right, or in a company, there are 30,000 to 40,000 people, then every day the absence events will occur. Every day the absence requests will be raised. Not, that's not entirely true. It might also happen on alternate day basis, because it entirely depends on the people who are using the system and raising the absence request. But given the number of workers in the company, it might be the case that on the system there is an absence request on every day. So that's why we have to process this absence. We have to run this absence process on a daily basis to keep our system up to date. So that system always displays, or system always give you the correct balances. So it should give you the correct entitlement balance. It should give you how many number of days of leave you have taken so far. It should give you the correct result on what is the annual entitlement of yours, or what is the monthly entitlement that you have got for this month. Okay. So to keep all this information up to date, we run the absence process on daily basis. All right. And this is the place where we run the absence process from. So this is the place. So let's say this is month of January, the first day of the January, and we are now running the process. So we'll come to this page, give some run control ID. Okay. It's a little big page, that's why it is taking time, so just be patient, guys. Yeah. So so this is the run control page for the absence process. Give me 2 minutes, guys. Just I'll put this call on hold for 2 minutes. I have to take care of a call. Just give me 2 minutes, okay? Hi guys, I think the introduction is going on among you. Yeah, yeah, that's good to hear. So is it over, or if you want to carry on, then I would just be on hold for some time. I think Rinku should have been first, right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So thank you guys for your introduction, which somebody has turned on the microphone. Can you please turn it off? Yeah. Okay. So okay. So we were in this page. So I was telling you that this is the page where we run the absence process from. Okay. So there are a couple of things in this page that you need to understand. You don't need to understand the entire page for now. I'll just tell you the main things. Okay. So the first one is calendar group ID. Okay. So we define calendars in absence management and global payroll. Well, calendar group contains all the calendars which are to be processed for a particular absence run. Okay. So if we are running, let's say we are running this absence process in the month of January, so we will be giving here 1 to 10 calendars. Okay. So if we are running this absence process in the month of January, so we will be giving here 1 to 10 calendars. Okay. So if we are running this absence process in the month of January, so we will be giving here 1 to 10 calendars. Okay. So we will be giving here the calendar group ID for the month of January. Okay, that calendar group will contain all the calendars which are to be processed, but mostly what happens, the calendar group ID and calendar in a calendar group ID there is only one calendar. Okay, so the reason we are using this calendar group ID is because it might be the case that there are group of employees who are paid on monthly basis, but there are also group of employees who are paid on bi-weekly basis. So it is more relevant in payroll actually. So in absence management, the accrual will happen either on monthly basis or on a yearly basis, right? So it is more relevant. The terms, if we try to understand why are we having this calendar group ID and why do we have so many calendars in a calendar group ID, we can easily understand this if we try to relate it with the payroll. Okay, so for absence management, a calendar group ID will have one calendar. Okay, mostly. So we will select the calendar group ID here. If we want to process a group of employees, we don't want to process the entire workforce, then we will give that group list ID here. In that group list ID, a group of employees will be added, and system will automatically ignore the rest of the population and will process only this group of employees. Okay, there are some check boxes over here: identify, calculate, recalculate all, freeze, finalize. Okay, so when the calendar is run for the first time for a month, let's say for month of January, if we are running the absence, if we are running the calendar group which is defined for January on 1st of January, then during that time, when the first time the calendar is run, we will select the identify and calculate check boxes. So what will happen? The calendar will be open for the entire month. So now over the entire month of January, we will run the same calendar group. We will run the same calendar group on daily basis for the entire January month. Why are we doing that? So what will happen? We will first, on the 1st of January, or when we are running this calendar first time, we will first identify the list of payees whose absence is to be processed. System will first identify those payees and it will calculate the absence for them. Okay, it will calculate the absence when we run it first time. Now from the second time onwards, it has already identified the payees, right? From the second time onwards, it doesn't have to identify the payee, right? Except when a new person is hired. In that case also, the identify phase isn't run. So if a person is hired in the middle of the calendar period, then triggers are there to detect that new hire and process the absence. But the identify happens only once in a month. Okay? So after that point onwards, always we check calculate and recalculate all till the end of the month. And on the final day of the month, when we are actually going to finalize the calendar for that month, we select the finalize checkbox here. Okay? So for the first time, we select identify and calculate. So what system does, it identifies all the payees whose absence is to be processed, and from the second time onward, it calculates or recalculates the absences for the payees. Okay, so let's see how it does that, how it identifies the payees and then calculate the absence. So when we click on run button, it goes to the next page, and from there we click on OK. There is one more page to finally run the process. So when we actually run the process, what system does, it pick up this calendar group ID from here. Okay, so it picks up the calendar group ID, and what it does, it first checks how many calendars are added into that calendar group ID, and from where it does that, So let's open a new page here. So it picks up this calendar group ID. So on a very higher level, just try to understand it in this way, that system has to first identify the number of pays that for which the absence is to be processed. Once they are identified, it will calculate the absence for those pays. Okay, so how does it identify, and then how does it calculate absence? That's what we are going to see. So it picks up the calendar group ID from that run control page and checks how many calendars are added into that calendar group ID, and from where it does that, from the calendar group ID setup page. So if it has to check something for something, then it has to go to the setup page. So if it has to check how many calendars are added into a calendar group ID, then it has to go to the setup page for calendar group ID. Okay, and from where it is, where is the setup page for calendar group ID? It is right here: product related, global payroll and absence management, framework, and calendars. Calendar groups. Okay, so let's say what calendar group ID we had given for this run. Let's say we want to process the January calendar. If it is there in this list, I'm taking that for example. So if it is there, five. It is not there. Okay, let's take anyone, just for understanding purpose. So let's take this one. It's though too old, so let's take this one. So let's consider that this is the calendar group ID created for the month of January. Let's understand that I don't think there is any calendar which is relevant to January, or yeah. They are finalized. After that, no. After that we cannot process them. So see, but what happens when any retro event occur, right? When a person is raising a request on the past date, right? Then automatically those calendar will reopen, and the system will open them and recalculate the absences. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So 15. Oh, I'm having a hard time finding it out. 004, they're too old. Most 14 January. It's January 4. I am not able to find any, so let's take this one. So let's say we have given this calendar group ID here. Let's copy it somewhere so that I can again take it back from where I have copied it. Let's say we have given this calendar group ID. We are processing. This is January month calendar group ID. Now from the calendar group setup page, now system will find out. The first thing that will system do is, what will it do? It will take this calendar group ID and will see how many calendars are added with this calendar group ID. Okay. Yep. So there is only one calendar attached or added to this calendar group ID. Now what will it do? It will take this calendar ID here. It will take this calendar from here. Okay. The second step, it will copy the calendar ID. Now it will see what are all the pay groups, what is the run type, and what are the pay entity added with that calendar ID. And how will it do that? How will it find out that what are all the pay groups added with this calendar ID? From the calendar ID setup page. Okay, so where it will go now? Calendar setup page. So in the previous step we were in the calendar group setup page. Now in this step we are in the calendar setup page. Okay. Okay, so this is the calendar setup page. So from this page, system will pick up this pay group, pay entity, and run type. So now from this point onwards, so the same has been explained in this diagram. So first it picked up calendar group. In the calendar group it found out how many calendars are there. Now using that calendar, it is now checking it is now checking what is the pay group added with that calendar, what is the pay entity, and what is the run type and pay period. So these four things it is checking now. Okay, so there are two branches from here, run type and pay group, right? Run type and pay group. So now using pay group, what system will do? Using pay group, system will identify the list of pays for which the absence is to be processed, and for each pay what are all the absences has to be processed. Once it has that information, it will pass that information to the calculation process, and then the calculation process will actually process the absence for each one of those pays. You getting my point? So from the calendar setup page, system found out this is the pay group for which it has to process the absence. Okay, and now using that pay group, system will find out the list of pays who belongs to that pay group. And how does it do that? How does system do that? If you look at the job data page, right? So if we are using absence management as our absence solution, then in the job data page we assign an absence pay group to each and every pay, right? Right? If you look into the job data page, yeah, it's different. Yeah. So in the job data page, we have absence pay group. Okay. So using that using from the job database, system can easily find out what are the direct pays who are associated with this pay group, who are attached to this pay group, right? So let's say with the pay group there are some 100 employees or some 200 employees attached with the pay group. Okay, now it has a number of pays, right? It has what are all the pays for which the absence has to be processed, right? So the first part of the information it has. Now for each of these pays, what are all the absences that it has to process? When I say absences, so there is annual leave, there is a sick leave, there is a casual leave, there is a maternity leave, there is a parental leave, right? So not all pays will be eligible for all kind of absences, right? You getting my point? So if a person is just hired into the organization at a very low level, he might be eligible for very limited type of leaves. But if a person is at a very senior level, he might be eligible for more type of leaves, right? Now both of these persons belong to the same pay group. Then how will system identify that what are all the leaves that it has to process for the person who is at lower grade, and what are all the leaves that the person that it has to process leaves for a person who is at the higher grade? So there is a way for that too. So first part, it has to first find out what are all the pays who are attached with this pay group, right? Now second part, it has to find out for each of these pays what are all the absences which these pays are eligible for. Okay, so how does it do that? from the pay group setup page. In the pay group setup page, we mention something called eligibility group. So system now has the pay group, right? So from pay group, it has already found out how many number of pays it has to process. Now from the pay group setup page, now system will see what is the eligibility group. One second, it is hang. It's not responding. So don't lose the track, guys. This is very important. So far, I hope you understood where we are going right from the beginning. It identified the calendar group ID. From the calendar group ID, it identified all the calendars that it has to process. From the calendar setup page, it has identified. Now it has to identify two things, right? The number of pays which are to be processed, and for each pay, what are all the absences it has to process. So first part of these two things we have already understood how does it do that. Now the second part, which my system is not responding. Okay, so from the pay, so it has this pay group. So this is the pay group which is attached with this calendar setup. So it will go to the pay group setup page and will see what is the eligibility group attached with the pay group. Product related, absence management, framework, organizational, pay group. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's say we have hourly and salaried employees, okay, both. So now we have to process now for salaried employees, the absence rules and everything is different from the hourly employees. So pay group basically it's a group of those employees who share the same payroll characteristics or absence characteristics, who are paid on the same, whose absence and payroll period is same, the pay rate is same, right? And it's like they share the same characteristics. That's why they are put in the same pay group. But if there are employees there are hourly employees, so for hourly employees we'll define a different pay group, because for them the payroll has to happen or the absence has to happen on every day, right? They're paid on daily basis. So for hourly employees we will define different pay group. So if the employees are sharing the same characteristics in terms of their frequency or their pay period or their pay rate, then we will group them into a pay group. Okay.
So we can roughly say that employees' role or designation, generally it will take them similar pay. All the employees will belong to the same payroll and the same designation, then they will be in a pay group. Generally they will be in the same pay group.
Not designation per se. Not designation. So let's say if a person is a software engineer and there is another person who is a delivery manager. So both of these persons are at different designation, or you can say different grades, right? But yet they can be in the same pay group, because both of these persons are salaried. They will be paid on monthly basis, right? The pay rate will be same for both these two persons, right? That will be taken, that the entitlement will be taken care from the setup part, right? So for delivery manager, the formula that we are going to write, that will be different from the formulas that we are going to use for the software engineers. So it will be more, it will be done at the formula level, it will be done at the element level, okay? But yet they are, their pay period, their frequency, everything is same, right?
So generally the pay policy of the types, when we talk about the hourly employees and when we talk about the salaried employees, I mean generally.
Uh, I this is just an example of that, right? So if let's say there is a if in a company there are some employees who are hired on contract basis, not the contractors I'm talking about. Contractors are different. So if in a company there are employees, group of employees who are on a certain contract, right? And the contract says that, you know, they should be they should be getting the payment, or they should be accrued in a different way than the regular salaried employees, or their working hour is different, their working hour is different from those who are on permanent payroll or salaried employees. So if the characteristics are in such a way that they cannot be fit into the pay group which is being used for permanent salaried employees, then a separate pay group can be created for them. But as far as I have seen, or in the organizations where I have worked so far, whether a person is on a contract, or he's on a permanent payroll or a salaried employee, the pay group was same always. But the pay group for hourly employees was always different. So you can just take this scenario as an example. So for hourly employees, we mostly have different pay group, and for salaried employees we have different pay group.
Just an example what I have seen now. I
Mm.
don't know if this is correct or not.
Mm-hmm.
What we have done in our organization, specifically for the pay group, they have different set of companies. So for different companies, they have different pay group. So for experience, they want to, they want to put some security for that pay group. So they created a new pay group.
Yeah. So. Mm, mm. Okay, yeah. So it can be that also. I mean, it entirely depends on the organization policy, how it wants to set up the absence system for different categories of employees. So it entirely depends on that. So so if we discuss this, or if we talk about the pay groups within a country only, so in a country, so across the countries, or for India the pay group will be different, for UK pay group will be different, for USA pay groups will be different. That's a different scenario. That's at the country level. The difference is at the country level. But the pay groups that we're talking about here is within the country. So within a country, there can be salaried employees, there can be hourly employees. So for salaried employees there is a different pay group, for hourly employees there is a different pay group. As Amit also said, at the people who are at executive level, or the people who are at the higher level, for them the pay group is different because of security requirement. So that's also one of the examples. Okay.
Also, you mentioned that there are on the job page,
Mm-hmm.
two different pay groups are.
Mm-hmm.
One is the absence pay group, and
Mm-hmm.
one is the regular payroll group for payroll processing. Now, when you define a pay group, how do you, differentiate the two kinds of pay groups? Or normally, when you define a pay group, you define it in such a way that you work for payroll as well as the absence part. But having a separate set of pay groups, one focusing primarily on the payroll part and another one focusing primarily on the absence part.
Yes. So in most cases, yeah. So pay group for payrolls are different, and pay group for absence are different. So we define separate pay groups for both of these processings. So this is the this is the most common thing that I have seen. So yeah. So if you talk about the reason for that, right? So can anybody explain that? Why do we have such a setup that for payroll we have different pay group and for absence we have different pay group?
Because we need to run the absence first before we run the payroll.
Or maybe the people can be grouped differently from an absence standpoint, but differently from a payroll standpoint.
Yeah, so it is like this. Yeah, you're right. I mean, so see, in payroll we have different elements: earning, deduction, taxes, one-time payment. We have all these elements in payroll, but in absence we have entirely different elements, right? Like accumulators, absence takes, entitlements, adjustments also. So now you see, so in payroll we have different set of elements. In absence we have different set of elements. So if we can, it's up to us. If we can, just consolidate all these elements and put them into a single process, even then the payroll and absence both will work together. But in that way, if we are going to resolve an issue or if we are going to generate a report, then it will be a difficult task because there will be huge number of elements combined together, right? And more than that, the payroll processing happens entirely differently, right? The earnings and deductions and compensation details from the job data page and additional pay is there. So taxes are also there. So that processing happens, or that processing is done entirely different in a different way than how it is done for the absence, right? But system can process both of them together, because if you have seen, right, you have seen the program is same for both of them. There is a one COBOL program which processes both absence and payroll together, right? So system will never restrict you to keep them in separate pay group or in one pay group. You can do it's entirely up to you. But we normally keep them separate. We process them separately because the way the processing happens for payroll is entirely different from absence.
So when it comes to grouping of these employees,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about how you move from the calendar providing the calendar to figuring out which employees fall under that group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So once you identify the employees, how do you identify the elements?
Yeah, that's where I was going to. So now we have the pay group with us, right? We have the pay group now. So in pay group setup page, we have pay entity, we have eligibility group, something called eligibility group. Okay. If you look into this diagram, we have eligibility group, right? This is the pay group setup page. From the pay group setup page, we got the eligibility group. Now what system will do? System will pick this eligibility group, and it will check what are all the element groups added in that eligibility group. So now it will go to the element group setup page. You have to come all the way down from the top. Now we are at this point. We have the eligibility group with us. Now system will go to eligibility group setup page and will see what are all the eligibility element group added into that eligibility group. Okay, it is right here. Unfortunately, since it's just demo data, so there is no eligibility group, but I'll pick any one of them. Hold on, eligibility, sorry, I was at the wrong place itself. Yeah, so this is the eligibility group page. Yeah, so from this eligibility group page it gets the element groups. Okay, so these are the element groups. These two are the element groups. Something weird happens. So did we have the eligibility groups? I think we copied. Yes, no, we didn't copy. So from eligibility group it gets the element group. So it gets the element group from eligibility group, and in the element group it gets what are all the elements added in that element group. So if you go to the element group members, so these are the elements added. If you see here, what does it mean? If you just open all the elements, what does it mean? So these are all the absences which the payee who are in this pay group are eligible for. So we had the pay group with us, right? Now we came all the way down to this page. Now this page says that the pays which are added into that pay group will be eligible for all these absences, sick leave, there is a so basically for a particular pay all these elements has to be resolved. So if you see, both absence entitlements and absence takes are there. So just stick to the absence take for now, because that says that the leave type that actually represents the type of leave. So just stick to the absence take for now and understand that these are all leaves for which an employee is eligible for in that pay group. Okay, now system has this information. System has the list of pays for which the absence is to be processed. It also has for each payee is eligible for what absences. Okay, now it has both the information. Now what it will do, see here, we are now at this point. We are at the bottom. So from the element group page it has found out what are all the elements a pay is eligible for, or what are all the leaves a pay is eligible for, right? So now it has that information. Now system will hand over this information to the calculation process. Okay, getting my point? System will hand over this information to calculation process. Let's see where the calculation process is and how system hand over that. So let's go back to the calendar page again. So if you see here, if you see in the diagram, when we are at the calendar page, we had these two entities, pay group and run type, right? We came in this branch, we came in this area, right? Pay group, after pay group we came into the eligibility group. After eligibility group we came into the element group, and from the element group we found out that what are all the elements that this pay are eligible for, right? Now let's go to this branch, let's go into this area, run type and process list and all. Okay,
First, can you explain the element numbers here? I mean, I'm unable to,
yeah.
understand it properly. There are multiple entries for absent day, but it differs by element name. So I'm really unable to get a
Yeah. So this page basically tells, let's say we have 10 different type of leave in an organization, you know, annual leave, sick leave, casual leave, maternity leave, paternity leave. So all these leaves are there. So for each leave we define an absence take. For each of these leave types we define an absence take element. Okay, so each absence, yes. So for each leaf type we define an absence take element. Okay, and for each absence take we define an absence entitlement. It's little confusing for you, that's why I was not going into the details. So what I was trying to get into that this page tells the system that what are all the leaves that an employee is eligible for. Just understand that for now. If I just try to explain you the absence take, what is the absence take and what is the absence entitlement, I don't think you will be able to understand the absence entitlement, because now we will be coming into the setup part. So we'll come into the setup part later. Okay, so here for each absence take we define an absence entitlement. So that's why we have added both of these things here. So system, here we have to tell the system that these are the absence takes that an employee is eligible for, and these are the absence entitlements which are created for each absence take. That we have to add it here. Okay, so in this way system will have this input that for this employee I have to process these many number of absence takes and absence entitlements. Now I think you're confused because things are repeating here, right? One thing is existing twice. Please, you can combine one absence entitlement and one absence take into one unit for now. Okay, because absence entitlement are always inside absence take. So first absence entitlement will be processed, or first absence entitlement will be resolved, and based on the result from the absence entitlement, absence take will be resolved. Okay, all right. So but my point here, right? From this page system gets the information that what are all the leaves type an employee is eligible for. Okay, now
sorry, where is the count itself? Let's assume there are X number of sick leaves in a calendar year. So the count would be set up at some other place, right?
yeah, correct. So the count, so see, yeah, so no, it is not done here in this page. It is done in a different place. See, we are not getting into the setup part for now. See, setup is not done in this way. Setup is done from the smallest unit to the biggest unit, to the highest unit. Setup is done from the bottom to top. But here in the absence process, we are going from top to bottom. Okay, so setup is done other way around. All right, so we cannot directly create an absence take element if we haven't created absence entitlement for that absence take. Okay, so we have to create an element first which is used in another element. So the element which are used in other elements, so the elements which are used, those have to be created first, right? then the elements which are using these elements can be created later. Okay, so this is how the absence is set up. All right. So don't get confused a lot. I mean, let's now, for now, just stick to the processing part, how the absence processing is done. We will come to the setup part later. Okay, though we will not go into the details, but we'll come to that. All right. Yeah. So now let's go back to the calendar setup page again. System. Now we came into this area. We came into this branch. Now let's go back to the calendar setup and then go to this branch. Run type, process list, and sections. Okay. Okay, so framework, calendars. So which calendar we had, which calendar ID we had, I think it was this one. Well, it's not there actually. I forgot which calendar we copied from here. Let's open any one. We are understanding this for understanding purpose. Let's take any one. Okay, so we were in this page initially when we went into that branch. So we went into the pay group part. Now since system has that information, system has the information that what are all the pays it has to process, and for each pay what are all the absence it has to process. I mean, what are all the absence a particular employee is eligible for. Once it has that information, it has to pass over this information to the calculation process. Okay, so where is that calculation process? In this area, in run type. So now it follows this route, run type. So it checks what is the calculation process attached with a run type. Okay, so we can go to the run type setup page directly from the navigation, or we can just click on this description and it will take us to the run type setup page. Okay, so we are in the run type setup page. You see your run type. So from this setup page, it takes the process name. It gets the process name, the calculation process, which is going to process all these pays. Okay, so once it has the process, it hands over the information, the inputs that it has identified so far to this process. Now this process has to now calculate the absence for all these pays for which we have the input, for which the system has input. Now how does it do that? So how will it do? So let's say let's take one pay for example. So let's say one pay, I mean all the pays whoever are in this pay group will be eligible for all these leaves, right? So what will happen? It will, let's take one pay, let's say one pay is eligible for, system has to process all these elements for one pay. System has to process all these absences for one pay. So it will pick one pay from the pay group. It will see the number of elements that are there that this employee is eligible for, and it will try to resolve all these elements. Okay. Now to resolve all those elements or to process the absences, it has to process, number of elements, number of other elements. So in absence management is entirely based on the elements. So an element is used into other elements. So I talked about absence take and absence entitlement. So a pay is eligible for, let's say, 5 absence takes: annual leave, sick leave, and casual leave. Okay. So now this calculation process has to calculate the absences, right? It has to process these 5 leaves types, right? And to process these 5 leaves, it has to first resolve the elements which are used in these absence take and absence entitlements, right? So it does that here, over here. So here also, what we do when we set up this absence process, when we create this absence process, we add each and every element. We add each and every element over here. In this page, what we are adding, only the absence take and absence entitlement. But this absence, as I told you, right, absence take is based on, an absence entitlement is being used inside absence take, right? Again, in absence entitlement, there will be 10 other absence elements which are used, right? So to resolve absence entitlement, those 10 other absence elements has to be resolved first, right? So in this page, we are not giving all those 10 elements which are supporting absence entitlement, right? But this process has to first resolve all those 10 elements, right? Then only it can resolve absence entitlement and absence take. So we add all those 10 elements in a series over here. We add them in a sequence over here in sections. So we create section, and in each section we add a number of elements. Okay, let me explain you that in an Excel sheet. Otherwise, I'm not sure if you are getting that. Okay, so let's understand that in this way. So let's say there is an absence take annual leave. Okay. For this absence take, we have defined an absence entitlement as annual leave entitlement. Okay. Now, this annual leave entitlement is being used in this absence take. This is clear to you, right? For each absence take, we define an entitlement. So for this annual leave absence take, we have defined the entitlement as annual leave entitlement. Now, this entitlement again is supported by 10 other elements. Okay? And how it is supported? So let's say a system has to calculate the annual entitlement for that employee. Annual leave entitlement for this employee. Okay, so this take is for annual leave, right? Now system has to calculate how many number of days it has to award to a particular employee, right? So we define formulas. So this entitlement is supported by formula. So we will define a formula which will actually calculate the number of days which are to be awarded to an employee. Okay, so we have created a formula here for this entitlement. Okay, we have created a formula. We have created accumulators, which one accumulator will store the balance, entitlement balance. One will store the absence take. One will store the adjustments, etc. Okay, so these are 4 supporting elements which are actually used in this annual leave entitlement element. So these are supporting element for this one. You getting? Now again, in this formula we are using 10 other elements. So if you let's compare it with a programming language. Okay, so in a programming language you have different elements, right? Like the variables, you have the functions, you have the class objects, you have methods, right? You have some characters, and each of these elements have different meaning, right? And if you, when you create a program, you use all these elements, individual elements, right? So that program gives you a certain result as per your requirement, and to get that result, you write a particular logic, right? And in that logic, you use all these elements, formula, class, variable, methods, function, whatsoever, right? So in the same way, this formula, we write a logic to create a formula. And in that formula, we use different other elements like dates, durations, characters, other formulas also, right? So this formula is using 10 other elements, element 1, and let's say these many elements are being used in this formula. Because a formula is nothing but it's a logic which is built upon the other elements. So if let's say if this is the beginning of the year, so a formula has to identify whether the run is occurring in the beginning of the year or not, right? If it is the beginning of the year, then it has to award the total annual leave entitlements to the employee. If the process is running in the middle of the year, then it doesn't have to award the leave entitlements to the employees, right? Because it has already happened in the beginning of the year. So all that logic we put up in this formula, right? Getting my point or not? And that logic will be created using other small elements. So the beginning of the year will be identified with a date type element, segment type element. Similarly, if what to say, I'm not sure if you're getting my point or not. I'm putting up a lot of effort to explain you this, guys. But understand that in an element there are 10 different elements used. So it's like if you start digging up an element, you will be lost. You will be finding a lot of other elements if you start digging up. Okay. So in this formula, we are using these 10 different elements. So what I'm trying to say here is that in this page, in this element group page, you have added absence, takes, and entitlements, right? Absence, takes, and entitlement. These two entities you have added in that page, element group page. And in the section, in the process definition page, sorry, what happened? In the process definition page, you have put up all the supporting elements which are being used inside these two elements, right? Not just the supporting elements, you put these elements also. So what happens when system starts calculating the absences? What it does, it picks the element from the element group page, and it sees what are all the supporting elements added into this element. It first resolves all those supporting elements. So for this element, these are the four supporting elements, right? So this process has to resolve these 4 supporting elements first. Now to resolve these 4 supporting elements, it first has to resolve all other elements which are supporting these 4 supporting elements, right? So it has to first resolve the smallest element, which is not using any other element. This is my point. So which is a standalone. So it first has to resolve standalone element, which are not using any other, right? So it will first resolve all these 10 elements, these 10-12 elements. So once all these elements are resolved, let's say the first element is the date element, whether the current month is month of January. The second element is the year element. Okay. The third element is actually identifying whether employee is under a fixed term contract or not. The fourth element is actually having is to get the standard hours, number of hours for that particular day for an employee. The fifth element is having some other value. So first it has to resolve all these small elements, right? The standalone elements. Once it has resolved all these elements, then it will resolve this formula, right? Getting my point? So that is what we have done here. So in the initial section, in the initialized section, we have created 2 sections here. So the first section will have all the supporting elements which are first to be resolved, and the second section has all these elements which are built upon the supporting elements, right? So first, and we have given a sequence number. So the section which is having the lowest sequence number will be resolved first, and the section which is having the higher sequence number will be resolved later. So this is how the priority is. So the sections who are having the low sequence number will get the higher priority. Okay. So first the elements. Oh, sorry. You got it right, guys? Any question? See, you cannot understand the entire absence management in one day, right? You just have, somewhat, I'm just making you familiar with the absence management. You cannot really understand the concept of all these things. It's very much complex. It's not easy. And you cannot understand, yeah. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Okay, guys. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So let's try to understand how it resolves the annual leave. Okay. One leave we'll take that leave an example, and we'll see how it resolves that. Okay. So yeah. So we have to go to the setup part. Let's see how the setup for annual leave is there. Okay. Elements, absence elements, absence takes. Okay. So now for each leave we define an absence take here. So if you take USA, let's understand the vacation leave. Okay. So this is the leave that system has to resolve for the pays who are in a particular pay group. Okay. Now this absence take is actually at the top. Now if you just look at the setup of this absence take element, you have various tabs over here. You have calculation tab. In the calculation tab you have absence and entitlement that we talked about. So we talked about absence take and absence entitlement, right? So for this absence take, for this vacation leave absence take, what will be the absence entitlement? What will be the how the absences will be entitled to a particular absence take? That all will be taken care by this entitlement element. But both of these, absence take and absence entitlement, both are elements actually, but at different level. Okay, one element is being used inside another one. You getting my point? So this is the entitlement element for this absence take. So we'll pick this one now. We'll pick the absence entitlement and we'll see what are all the other elements added into this absence entitlement. Okay. There are other elements also for this absence take, day formula element. There are some negative balance elements added. Forecasting elements are also there. Here it is not added, but they are there always. Okay. So first stick to this one, absence entitlement. Okay. Now let's go to the absence entitlement page. Yeah. Now, so this element is actually responsible for getting the entitlement for that take, and what? Updating the accumulators. When I say accumulators, means entitlement balance, annual entitlement, absence take, and adjustments. All these 4 accumulators has to be maintained by this entitlement element. So this entitlement is responsible for all these. A, it has to calculate the number of days an employee is entitled for. B, it has to also keep track of the accumulators. Okay, so if we come into the calculation tab, so this is where that formula added, that formula which calculates the number of days for an employee in a year. It actually calculates the annual entitlement for the absence take. Okay, so this is the formula which does that. Now we would have a logic defined as formula. So if you go to this formula definition, supporting elements, formula, are you following me, guys? Are you following me? Yeah. Okay, so this is how the formula looks like. So this is the formula. We have written a logic, right? This formula will give the annual entitlement for an employee. Okay, now if you look into this formula closely, this formula is using other elements also. It is using variable, it is using array, it is using bracket, it is using again some other formulas. So as I said, so these are all supporting element for this formula element. Okay, so that's what I was trying to show you here. So this was the formula element, and these 10-14 elements were the other elements which are actually used in this formula element. Okay, one minute. This is some time. Yeah, so this is there is no language in this. What you do, this is just a text representation of the logic that you write. So you actually build the logic from this area. You cannot write that logic just the way you write a programming language. Okay, so in this, from this area, you actually add the criterias, you add the lines, and all these criterias will be added into one formula. So you add all these things. You have this page here. You don't have to write anything here. You just have to add. You have to click on the different buttons. You have to select the elements. You have to based on the requirement. So it cannot be done just like that. It is actually as per the requirement. So so if there is a requirement that a person has to be accrued 2 days in a month, or a person has to be accrued 25 days in a year, and that person should be active, that person should not be on leave of absence. So all these all logics and criteria are added in from this. Okay, so one section over here is actually having one criteria, you can say, one section here. Okay, see a section here. Okay, so now, so why do you have this page? See, if you look into this page in this way, you will not be able to understand any of it, right? Anything out of it. You will not be able to understand what is happening, what is written here. So this page actually gives you the text representation of that entire logic. Okay? It is just giving you the text representation. Right? So this is how the formulas, this is how this is set up. Now, we came into the formula part. Now, if you go deeper, if you check the individual elements which are being used inside this one, right? Let's pick one. Let's pick this again, this formula element, this one. Okay? Again, we'll open this formula element. again, since this is a formula, so it will again have a logic, but this logic is very simple. I mean, this is just one line, right? You getting my point? In this formula element, again, there are some supporting elements, right? System element, and there is one more formula element. If you are there is no, it looks like there is no ending of it. And in this one also there is one more formula element. See, this is Sunil. This is a demo environment. Okay, this is some I have installed PeopleSoft on my laptop, and this is demo environment. But in real world scenario, this is not this much complex, which we are seeing it here. So it will end at the formula level itself. So it is not like you are having one formula element inside another one, and in that formula element also there is another formula element, in that also there is another one, and in this way it's never ending process. It's not like that. We don't create formulas which are this much complex, because we don't have this much complex requirement. The requirements are not that complex, right? We simply have to create. Yeah, everything is built from scratch. The reason, because PeopleSoft don't know that what will be your absence requirement. It doesn't know, right? For India, the annual. The different type of leaves, creating different types of leave isn't a big deal. If you want to create types of leave, right? So the page will be extremely simple. You just have to enter the leave code and leave name. That's it. Done. So that's not that difficult. Hmm. 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 Yep. No, it doesn't give you that setup. You have to start from the scratch. What it provides you with is, it provides some supporting elements, some system elements, which you cannot change also. Okay, so what it provides you with the system elements. So the system elements, like if you just take one of them, system elements here. System elements and some rounding rules, okay, and maybe some but it provides at very low level, okay. So but it doesn't provide you with the entire formula or some some generic setup which you can use to which you can modify as per your requirement. You have to start from the scratch. So there are some system elements which are provided, like action date. So these like this action date. So these elements, right? Action date, action reason. So all these elements actually automatically they get populated. So you don't have to create these elements at least, and you cannot modify them also. Okay. So absence begin date, absence end date. So if a person is raising an absence request for an absence type, and when it comes to the processing part, the system will automatically store the absence begin date into a system element automatically. You don't have to do that. You just have to use that system element for your formula or for your in other places. Okay. So things like this are actually automatically, I mean, they are already created. They are system element things, and you can use them actually. Okay. but it provides you with the bunch of tools which you can use to design, an extremely complex requirement. It is extremely flexible. Actually, it is very powerful. We have, for example, we have this occupational sick leave in UK, right? Sick pay leave, OSP, SSP, if somebody would have heard of it. In UK, for UK employees, there are two leaves: occupational sick pay, occupational half sick pay. So these are some leaves, and these leaves have really complex logic behind them. And it was really a challenging job for us to make this happen. Not because the absence management was not powerful enough, but because we were not able to create, or we were not able to build the logic for those leaps. We were not able to create the formulas for those leaps. But absence management has those tools through which you can create the logic, you can create the formulas, you can create the accumulators. It has all that power, but it's it's up to us that whether we are able to create that very easily, or we are finding it difficult to create. So in the beginning, yes, you will find difficult, but once you understand the core part, once you understand the where is what in absence management, then you can create the formulas and everything very easily. So the only confusing thing is trying to find out the relation between the elements. What is the relation between absence take and absence entitlement? What is the relation between a formula and an absence entitlement? What are the system elements, how they're related to formula? Where we can find the accumulators, how they're related to absence entitlements. So once we have clear picture of the relation between all these elements, right, then we can create anything very easily in absence management. Okay. So it's a toolbox. Absence management is a toolbox. Using that, you can create any, you can create formula or element for any kind of requirement, regardless of its complexity. It's that powerful. Okay. Okay. Any other question from anyone else? Okay, so I kind of lost where we. So we were in the run type, right? So okay, so we were able to go into the bottom for that absence take, right? We were able to see that formula element. So we were in that area. So we saw how the logic looks like, how the formula looks like. So what will system do? It will first resolve all the supporting elements which are being used in that formula. After it has resolved all the supporting elements, it will resolve the formula itself. After it has resolved the formula, then it will come to the absence entitlement, and then it will come to the absence take. Okay. Guys, Amit, Salman, Rinku, any doubts? I mean, are you able to catch up? Okay, I hope so. Okay, so now we have seen how the absences are processed in absence management. Okay, now let's understand how we set up the absence management. So we go other way around. We first define the smallest unit, and then we go up in the ladder. Okay. So what we do? Okay, so before that, let me just tell you that what are all the how we begin with the absence management setup, from where we actually begin the setup. So we first create, or we first build absence management and global payroll profile. Okay, so there is a security aspects which is associated with the absence management and global payroll. Okay, so we define security at the country level and at the element level. Okay, so security, what kind of security? So let's say we want to restrict the Indian people to not to be able to see or access the elements defined for USA. So this is what? Country security at country level, right? So how we do that? From this page. So we begin the absence management setup from here. Security, user maintenance, global payroll user profile. Though it says global payroll user profile, but since global payroll and absence management are combined into one, so don't be confused. Okay, it is applicable for both. So let's say I want to restrict a user whose ID, who belongs in some X country. Let's say this is the user, and I want to create a profile for this user in such a way that this user should only be able to see the elements which are defined for Australia country. Okay, so now when this user actually does the setup, or this user actually goes and try to access any element, then this user will be able to see only those elements which are defined for Australia. Okay, so this is the country level setup. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay. So this is the first thing that we do. Now let's go to the other areas as we move on. So this is the first. Yeah. No, there is no need of that actually. It is not the PeopleSoft security for which we run the nightly jobs, which actually updates various tables through which the accesses are updated. This is not that. This is simpler than that actually. Okay, so for this we don't have to run any job or any nightly batch or anything of that kind. Okay. Yes. So this is specifically for global payroll and absence management, as I told you in the beginning itself. See, the name is global payroll user profile. This will not affect your regular row security or page security or anything in other areas. This will only restrict access to the absence elements. Okay. Yep. Now here comes the actual setup part. So the setup is divided into 5 parts. In fact, there are 2 more areas, but at a very higher level, we do the system setting, then we create the elements, which is the important thing, which is actually the most time consuming thing. Third one is framework, schedules and triggers. Okay. So in system, so we begin with the system setting. We begin the setup with the system setting. Setup HRMS, product related, global payroll and absence management, system setting. Okay, so here we define some very high level of information, like for like what kind of retro processing we are gonna use, right, at a very high level. From countries table, what will be the element types also we define from this area. Okay, there are some installation settings that we do from here. So we basically begin our setup from here, and I really cannot go into each and every page and show you what exactly we do there, okay, because we don't have enough time for that. And the reason we don't need that for now is because, you know, you should have understanding of where we should begin what, from where we should begin the setup. After we are done in this area, we come to the element part, and this is where we do the real stuff. Okay, has anybody dropped off? Screen changed? Is it? I think Rinku, I'm not able to see you in the meeting. Have you disconnected? You have, actually. I cannot see you on the screen. You have to you have to connect back again in the team viewer, not in the Skype. Yeah, now I got you. Okay, no issues. That's why you were not able to see the screen. Now are you able to see? Okay. So this is where we do the real stuff. So as I told you that in the elements, what we do, how we do the setup, we start with the smallest element and we go all the way up to absence take. Okay, elements, what we do, we start with this one, supporting elements, variables, arrays, system, all these duration elements if we need to define. So there are some delivered elements. There are some delivered elements that we have to define, that we don't need to define. We just have to use them. And there are some supporting elements, some these small elements which we have to define as per our own requirement. Okay. After we have done that, what we need to do? We have to then define the formulas, accumulators. Basically the calculation elements like formula, numeric variables and accumulators, etc. So then we have to define the calculation element. We can also see these supporting elements, these small elements are actually used. These are actually creating a formula elements. Okay, which means the calculation elements. But there is another calculation, there is another formula element which is called day formula element. So that's why this row is going here. You see, the absence take is at the top. Okay, so all these supporting elements are actually creating the formula elements. Okay, and there are two types of formula element. One is the calculation formula element, and the second one is day formula element. And this day formula element is directly attached to the absence take. Okay, and there is a reason behind that. Okay, so it's like for a day, let's say a person has taken a partial day off, right? A person has taken a partial day off. Now system has to find out that this is not a full day off, this is a partial day off. So this formula element does that. This formula element determines whether a person is on a full day off or a partial day off, with how many hours it has to deduct from the balance for a particular day. Okay, let's say a person has taken 3 days of leave, out of which 2 days are full day off and the third day is just half day. Okay, so now this day formula element will get resolved for each day. So on first day it will give the full standard hours, on the second day it will again give the full standard hours, and on the third day it will give half of those standard hours, because on the third day the person is on half day leave. Okay, so this is what it is used for. And the same you can see in the absence take setup page. In the absence take setup page, if you remember, we had seen absence entitlement, we had seen forecasting elements, we had seen forecasting result accumulators, we had seen the day formula element also, right? And in the absence entitlement setup page, we had seen auto-generated accumulators, we had seen the formula elements, calculation elements basically, and we had seen the per absence formula element. Okay. Well, this is kind of offset, which tells whether the element, I mean, whether a day has to. Oh, my meeting is disconnected. Hold on, guys. I have to connect back again. Okay, just hold on. Hold on, it's kind of hang up. I think you're not able to see anything from my screen, right? Because it is disconnected. I am disconnected from the meeting. I have to connect back again. Meetings. And start. Okay, you can see it now, right? Yep. So okay, so we were talking about the formula elements. So when we are done with the formula elements, then we actually add that formula element in the absence entitlement. Okay, we have some other elements also, per absence formula elements, other formula elements, per absence formula. We have day formula elements, right? We have so these are the formula elements that we have. So after we have created supporting elements, we have defined supporting elements, we will create all the formula elements, whatever we are going to use, and after that we will come into the absence entitlement part, and in that absence entitlement we have to just use this element. Okay, we don't have to actually, we don't really have to, you know, create any formula after that. I mean, we just have to use the formula that we have already defined. Okay, so once we have created absence entitlement, we then have to add this absence entitlement to absence take. Now, to create absence entitlement, there is not just the one calculation formula element. We have another per absence formula element. We have auto-generated accumulators. Okay, but so these are auto-generated accumulators. So the same accumulator that we just talked about, that they store the total number of takes, year to date, total number of the total entitlement balance year to date, and the actual entitlement which has occurred in the beginning or on every month. So accumulator actually store these things. Okay, so that's why we call them accumulators, and they are actually auto generated. We don't have to create them, they are auto generated. When we create an absence entitlement, four accumulators are automatically created. So for each absence entitlement, system knows that for each entitlement we will be using 4 accumulators, right? Let's say if there is an annual leave. So if we have created an absence entitlement for an annual leave absence take, then system know and we know that we will be needing one accumulator for storing the total entitlement that has occurred, one accumulator for storing the entitlement balance year to date, one accumulator for storing total adjustments that have been made year to date, and one accumulator to store total absence takes or total number of leaves that has been taken year to date, right? So all these things are accumulated and they are stored and they are maintained in these accumulators, okay, and they are auto generated. Getting? Okay, now let's so you got the picture, right? I mean, so once we have once we are so in absence take, we don't just use the absence entitlement, we also use forecasting element, we also use forecasting result accumulators, we also use a day formula. We have already seen that, right? So this forecasting elements, so we also have to create forecasting element so that we can add them into absence take. We also have to create, you know, these accumulators so that we can add them into absence take. Okay, I'm not sure if you are getting that. So let's understand, let's see how an accumulator looks like. Okay, so accumulator is it is actually very important thing here. It is a key element in absence management because it actually stores the balances. I mean the entitlement balance. It stores the total number of leaves that has been taken. It stores the entitlement and it stores the adjustments. So it, you know, for entire year, I mean right from the January, if we run the process on month of February, then it will store the total till February year to date. It will store the values from the January and will store the values from February. So it basically retains the previous month's value, and when for the next month when it is resolved, then it retains the previous month value and adds the next month value into the previous month's value. Okay, so it don't lose the things, it don't lose the number of leaves or balances or takes anywhere. It maintains them very well. Okay, but generating the accumulators automatically is not enough. So system only generates these accumulators automatically, but the logic to calculate or to get the balance is something that we have to define. So how do we create the balance for any absence take? I hope you understand. So how do we calculate the balance for any absence? Does anybody have any idea? How do we do that? Guys, anyone? So there is a simple arithmetic equation, right, to calculate balance. How do we calculate balance? Total number of entitlements minus total number of takes plus adjustments, right? That will give you the balance. Getting my point or not? Yeah, that's yeah, it is stored in the counts supporting elements. Okay, so when a person takes a vacation, right, when a person raises an absence request, let's say for 1 week, so there are auto generated system elements which store the count for the number of days for which the leave has been taken. So if a person is taking 7 days of vacation, then the 7 value will be stored in a count element. You can say a system element. So that system element will actually store that count, and it is used when the accumulator's value is to be updated. Okay, so accumulator it accumulates the things. It doesn't contain the individual counts. It actually uses other system elements to get those counts. Okay, let's see for vacation. Let's see the entire thing now. Okay, so absence take, we have absence entitlement here, right? If we just look into this one, so we are into the absence take setup page. We have, so let's begin with the absence entitlement. So it is right here in the calculation tab. This is absence entitlement, okay? This one, right? And then day formula. This is the day formula element, which is right here, day formula element, okay? Yes. I think you have to disconnect and connect back again in the team viewer. Sunil, Amit and Salman, are you getting? I mean, are you able to understand? Are you able to follow me? Salman and Amit? Is it? Mm-hmm. 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 So, okay. So all the absence related tables, right? They have a normal naming convention, which is GP underscore ABS and underscore XXXYYY. So if you want to look at the individual tables, right? So there are setup tables and there are the transaction tables. There are two kinds of tables. This is not just for absence management. In any PeopleSoft application, you have two kinds of tables, right? Setup tables and transaction tables. So in absence management, setup tables, we have like GP underscore ABS underscore take. We have GP underscore ABS underscore entitlement. What I'll do, I'll send you guys the list of all those records. Okay, I'll categorize them. I'll first list down all the setup tables, the main setup tables that we use, and I'll also list down the transaction table that we use. Okay. Okay. So when I send this this material to you guys, I'll jot down all those tables and I'll then put them into this material and then I'll send it to you across. Okay. All right. So yeah. Okay. All right. So so Rinku, are you able to see now? I am on the navigation only. Okay, so did you disconnect and connect back again? It is, but you have to, disconnect it explicitly and then connect back again. That's what I said. Did you do that? Oh, okay. So you're still not able to see my screen? Oh, okay. Okay, all right, yeah. So this is the absence take setup page. In this diagram also you can see there are these four main elements that we add in the absence take setup page, and they are at different places. In this right here we have absence entitlement. We have day formula element right here. We have logic for this negative balance. So it is like, you know, if a person is actually raising an absence request but he doesn't have that much balance, sufficient balance, so in that case, in case we want to you know, make that absence entry ineligible, we want to throw an error message to the employee that no, you are not able to, you are not eligible to raise an absence request of this type, then we can do that from here. Okay, so we first put up that the exceeding the days which are exceeded past the entitled the balance, we can take them as a negative entry, and using that negative entry we can actually use that into forecasting message. So it's like, you know, our goal here is to display an error message to a person saying that you are not eligible to raise absence of this kind. So that's what we do in this page. Not entirely in this page. This is the option that we select, and system automatically does that based on this selection. We have some forecasting element here. So in absence management, when a person raises an absence request, so before submitting the request, first it has to be forecasted, and we can actually configure that based on our requirement. We can make that forecasting mandatory or optional. That is entirely up to us. But in most organization, I've seen that the forecasting is made mandatory. So before submitting a absence request, a person has to first forecast the absence, his entire absence till the date. So in forecasting, what happens? System calculates the available balance and checks whether a person is allowed to raise more absences for that absence type. And if a person is allowed, then what it does, it deducts or subtract the number of days taken from the balance, and it gives you a forecast of this much balance you will be having after you raise the request, this much you have taken right now, these two things. Okay, so this is how the forecasting work. Then after it is done, then employee or user submits the request. Okay, so this was the absence setup page. So let's quickly see the absence entitlement page now. So okay, five, 10 minutes, yeah, because anyway I also want to finish it off. Yeah, okay. So guys, I hope you understand, I hope you understood this entitlement and absence relation, and how they are related to other elements, right? Formula elements and other elements. I hope you understand that, right? Now, do you understand that? Do you understand that? Okay, so let's now you know, get back to where what we are left with. After we have defined elements, there is something called generation control in absence management. This is also a concept here. So so it's like this. So let's say we want to have a control on an element that during absence processing it should be resolved only when it meets a certain criteria. So as I told you, right, I mean, first all the pays are identified, then for all those pays, all the eligible absences are identified, then these are handed over to absence process, and then the absence process actually calculates the absence based on this identification. So now if we don't use this generation, I mean, so once that is done, so we can still restrict an element to be whether it should be resolved or not. So we can still control. We can still have a control on whether an element should be resolved or not. So the element should be resolved only when it meets a certain criteria. So this generation control, the name is a little confusing for you guys. I mean, if you are new to absence management, the name is a little confusing, but it has a very simple meaning. It controls when and how an element should be resolved. Okay, so let's say, for example, let's take a scenario. We'll finish it quickly. So the same that we took, right, the leave of absence. So let's say if an employee is on leave of absence, then the annual leave entitlement shouldn't be given to them, in which case we can create a generation control element, right? So let's say a person who is a regular salaried employee, he is going on a leave of absence. Now the requirement is, if a person is going on a leave of absence, we have to restrict the entitlement element to be resolved. We don't want to give an entitlement to that person, right? So we can create a generation control element for the entitlement element. We can add this generation control to the entitlement element. So when the absence is processed for that employee who's on leave of absence, so this entitlement element will not be resolved, because the generation control element will restrict the entitlement element from getting resolved, because it's more of that sort. So it's like, based on certain criterias, we are restricting an element to be resolved. So it's like, having a control over the elements. Okay, so there are various other scenarios where this generation control element is used. Okay, so in the frame, then after we have defined the elements, then we have to get into the framework part. So now we have created the elements, right? We have created the absence types, stakes, everything. Now we have to create the framework of this processing, right? In framework, we define the calendars, calendar groups, pay entities, right? Eligibility group, right? So all these things we define under the framework area. Sections we define. So once we have all the elements ready, we can, using those elements, we can define these. So this is related to the processing part, right? So the framework is basically for how we want to process our absence. So in this framework, we define the calendars, we define the pay groups, we define the pay entities, we define the eligibility groups, and then we define the run type and sections and everything, right? So these are actually used in the absence processing. The things which we define in the framework area, these are specifically for processing, absence processing. Okay, then after that we have schedules. So schedules means, let's say for a person is on a weekly 40 hours schedule, so that we define from here. I mean, let's say a person is taking a 5 days of leave in a week, and in one of those days there is a bank holiday, right? So if he is taking a leave of that entire week, then the leave which is falling on the bank holiday should not be actually treated as leave, because that is a bank holiday. So only 4 days of balance should be deducted from his account, right? So this is where we define the schedule. We define the holiday. We define the work schedule for the person, and then we tag holiday schedule with these work schedule. Okay, then we attach these schedules with the employees, so that system don't do the wrong calculations. Okay, getting? Then we have trigger. I already explained you the trigger, right? What kind of triggers we have: retro, segmentation trigger, and iterative triggers. So this is the place where we define the triggers. Okay, after that we define some country specific. So now from this area we basically define the self-service related things. Okay, so if we want to have the employee to be able to see the current balance in his self-service page, then we can do that setup from here. We want to restrict a manager from raising a request on behalf of employee, that we can do from here. What are all the fields that we want to see, that we want an employee to be able to see when he is raising the absence request, that we can do from here. Okay, so this is a more of self-service related setup. Okay, guys. All right. So with this, we will end this session now. It's 9:16. There was no break in between actually, so it was really. I'm not sure if you guys are overloaded with the concepts and you didn't get the break because you didn't ask. Yeah. Can we discuss it later, Sunil, if you want to? Really? Okay. What is the question? Tell me. I will try to. Maybe. Third party system. No, time and labor is not for absence related activities. It is for your timesheet entries. So if you so no, see, you think it yourself. If you don't have absence management, so there are that's what I said. I mean, if they don't have absence management, then they will be using. They has to use some other system, right? I mean, from the system from where an employee can raise the absence request. So okay, so mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hello, hello. ओट्स बना देना ओट्स गोभी है तो हाँ
friend. Bye everyone. It was हमारा रिकॉर्डिंग सेशन था ये
रिकॉर्ड भी होगा